to do is we're going to open up our sketchbooks to page 6 and 7. Would help if I was projecting the same thing you're seeing. We had 2 bottom squares here, and I think the best thing that we could do is an eye demo, because I feel like a lot of us are afraid to tackle those eyes, and I feel like the eyes, once you have everything outlined and we're happy with it, that's the soul. That's the most important part of this entire art piece. And so I like to tackle the hardest things first. I'm going to do an example of what students look at and look for with their eyes. So here we have a young lady that has fairly dark eyes, and she could barely see her pupils, but she saw them enough to kind of map those out. They're usually dead center in the middle of your eyes, and they can be different sizes. Some people's pupils will be very small, some of them will be very large. So you're going to look on your Chromebook photograph, zoom in on those eyes, and figure out what they look like and what those reflective highlights look like. Now, if you notice, the white of the eye has shading, okay? It's not flat white. Most of your eyes won't have any white except for the reflection in the iris. There's always going to be a shadow because your eyelid casts a shadow with your eyelashes. And then there's a tear duct, and it always points usually down, okay? And there's going to be some darkness to that. Please check yours right now and see if you have this little darkness of the tear duct in your eye. Add some shadows on the white of the eye. Observe your Chromebook photograph. I should see everybody with their Chromebooks out with their portraits and then zooming in on their eyes right now. If you don't have a Chromebook, go to one of the computers. There's computers on both sides of the classroom. Go to Google Classroom. Go to the portrait. That means you get up out of your chair and you walk over there with your picture and you look, okay? And then really map out where the white little reflections are and go dark around so that those end up light, nice, and crisp. The lashes will be last, and that'll really make your eyes come together, but we need to do the skin first. And that little shadow on the crease of the eye. I'm going to show you another example of an eye. This person took time to figure out the reflections, crisping up those pupils, crisping up the edges of the iris. A lot of yours are fuzzy, and that's not a good look because nobody's eye color is fuzzy. Okay, the white of the eye isn't white. There's a lot of shading. There's a tear duct. Really be mindful of those details. Nice and crisp. I'm going to take photographs of these and post them on the daily agenda. Here's a young man's eyes. His were a little bit different. Again, he's got the tear ducts. Those are dark. The iris is nice and crisp. You can barely see his pupil, but it exists, I promise you. There's reflections. You got to zoom in on those photographs to get those details. This is the soul of your portrait. And I promise you, your eyes are not blurry and fuzzy. This young lady's eyes are a little bit fuzzier, but she pulls it off pretty nicely with reflections, the pupils, the tear duct, shadows in the white of the eye. We're going to do a little demo of this in a second because I feel like some of you are really struggling with this. And if we can get this right, you're going to build momentum. Here, again, her tear ducts are lighter because of the way the photograph looked. She's got those pupils. The edges of the irises are nice and crisp. You have to really be mindful to those little details. This young lady, her eyes have those tear ducts too, some shading. This is what makes it look realistic. We'll talk about the nose and the teeth later, but if we can't get these eyes right, we're not going to be able to gauge the values for anything else. Okay, so now we're going to look at that little sketchbook of ours, now that we've talked about it. And we're going to do a sketch. So what I'd like for you to do on the bottom right, just because that's where I feel like putting it, lightly draw a circle. See how light I did that? I just went round and round with the side of my pencil. I'll give you a second. The very bottom of page number 6, we had an extra rectangle. And then we're gonna sketchily do like a sad face. It's very sketchily, like this. Okay? I'll give you a second. Notice that it's like 1/4 of the area down. May move on to the next step. Okay. Nobody's saying no. And then there's going to be another kind of sad face sketchily, not a hard line, very sketchily, softly drawn. We're learning to sketch. It's very scratchy. Now we're going to go ahead and work on the bottom half. And I'm just kind of wisping and drawing this bottom half of the eye shape, like so. Sometimes I have to turn my hand a certain angle to get the way I want it, or my paper. You can rotate that. And then I'm going to do another little kind of wispy line underneath going the opposite direction for the eye. Nice and wisping. We're practicing sketching. I still see a few people sketching this lightly. That's okay. Now I'm going to work on that tear duct area. It's more curved and it goes slightly down. Okay? Everybody's is different. This is the exercise I'd like you to work on. This is just kind of like a practice one. Everybody's eye shape is different. If you're smiling, the line changes slightly. Now the next step is the iris. The iris, you're not going to see the whole eyeball. You're only going to see a little side curvature on both sides. And they're usually pretty dead center. So I'm doing like a half curved C on one side and the other side. If I'm going too fast, let me know. Am I good, Sophia? Okay. Now, the iris is usually like a bullseye in the middle. I'm very sketchily going round and round as soft as I can with my pencil. Very loose and gesturally. Round and round until I'm happy with the shape. If you look up close, there's lots of rings that I've done. I'm just going round and round loosely. It's not perfect, it's sketcherly. I like to do things sketcherly because it gives it more charm and character instead of a dark, harsh line. If you do it sketchily, it's much more forgiving and it helps you get the shapes right. And then once we're happy with the shapes, we can go darker, more precisely. Now I'm going to do like, oh, I think there's probably a little circle reflection here and a circle reflection here, depending on whatever yours is. I'm just guessing right now. And because I'm pretty happy with my shapes, I'm going to go ahead and use the point of my pencil and commit to that iris, that little crescent moon. I'm going to go dark with my pencil, and I'm really going to color that in dark and heavy with the tip of my pencil. I'm pretty happy with that. Why not? Okay. It's starting to look real. Remember, we never want to do that SpongeBob style. We've practiced this eye before. We talked about the do's and the don'ts of the eye at the very top of this page. Now we're doing it in pencil, nice and loose. Now, because some of your eyes will have more reflections in it than others, that's going to affect the shading. Maybe your eye is really dark, maybe it's got some light areas. We always kind of want to go darker around the circle of the reflection just to map it out and make sure it's safe and nice and white. So I'm just kind of going around that. And then I'm kind of putting in like a 3 and a 4 value, depending on how light or dark your eyes are. I'm going ahead and putting in the shading here, at least a basic shading with the side of my pencil. I'm going in with around a 3 or a 4. I'm going to give you guys a minute for that. It's hard to go cheap. Sneak in there. I can't see it start. I should really lay out my stuff today. That would be responsive. No matter how much I work. That's my husband. Right, that's what he says to me. Okay, and what I've noticed is the iris is always pretty dark along the edges. I have a dark ring. My eyes are brown, yellow, and green, like mixture, mainly brown. But I have like a really crisp ring along the edges. It's never fuzzy. Okay. And then along the top, the lash line is going to give you some darkness, I promise you. So I'm kind of going in along the top here. There's always like a shadow of where your eyelid is hanging over your iris. Trust me, it's a fact. If you didn't have eyelids, maybe you wouldn't have a shadow, but you do. Remember how we shaded spheres? This is a sphere that we start off with. You got an eyeball in your eye socket, and you got eyelids, and they hold your eyeball in your eye socket. So that gives you that shadow. I'm going to give you guys a second, because I know you got to do your own. And then we're going to get busy with some more shading. We're going to make realistic eyes, and it's going to be fabulous. And then you're going to look and zoom in on your eye and make it accurate. If these other beginner students could do it, you can too, I promise you. And if you need more help one-on-one, I'm always here during Howl. I would love to help you with this one-on-one. Okay. May I start the next step? You sure? Was there anyone that came in late? Raise your hand nice and high just so I could double check. I got you. Yes, I got you. No, don't have you. Oh, yes and no. Okay. Adam, are you ready for the next step? Yep. This is easy breezy. Okay. So now we're going to start. Let's do the tear duct because I know that that's usually dark. I like to do the things that I know are dark, and it kind of curves in here. Woo! It's coming alive. Woo! This is good practice, so yours are on point later. I don't know if we'll have the nose and the mouth done by tomorrow, but if we can get perfect eyes by tomorrow when we grade it, I'll be a happy camper. And some skin down. I'm a reasonable woman because I slowed you down because we're doing this demo. We're going to do a demo on noses and lips and teeth and gums. We'll do little demos each day, breaking it down. All right, now may I start the next step? In the corner of the eye, remember this one? She's got some shading. In the corner of everybody's eye, I'm telling you, there's shading on both sides because it's a spear, it's curved, and it gets those shadows from the eyelid. So I'm going to put some shadow in the corner of the eye. Soft, it's not harsh. And then I'm also going to put a shadow on the top of the eye, the eyeball. I'm kind of shading it. Woo! Is it starting to look real, Adam? And on the other side, I'm putting in with the side of my pencil a shadow. Everybody's doing this. And we're just kind of lightly, sketchily putting in hints of shadows. Ooh la la. Miss Brown, I'm seeing your vision. Does everybody have a blending stump? Raise your hand if you don't have a blending stump. Come on down. Who has the blending stumps? Kiana in the front. You can check one out with her. Let's grab one real quick. We're gonna get our blending on. We have done a lot of work without blending. We don't want to blur anything. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna start putting some blending into certain aspects. I'm gonna go even bigger. The bigger, the better. Second? Yeah. Woo! Okay, everybody has a blending stump. What are you gonna do with it, Miss Brown? I'm just gonna barely graze the paper, and I'm just gonna shade the eyelid on the top, that skin. I gotta get some number 2s in here. Soft, flesh. Because I gotta have skin before I put hairs on things, right? Like the eyebrows. And I'm gonna go ahead and put some soft skin on the bottom of the eyelid. There might be some highlights, some wrinkles. That's what I love about the blending stump is it helps you kind of put in all of those details. Usually the eye socket gives you like a shadow under your eye, which I don't like because I feel like it makes me look old, and the last thing I want is to look old and tired. Aha. But you guys are youngsters. You guys don't have a whole lot of that, but it exists, trust me. And then I'm going to keep kind of pressing a little harder, and I'm going to go a little darker in this crease area on the top. And a little bit in the corner. I feel like I always see that on most of your eyes. I've been drawing eyes since I was a baby. And I've been teaching how to draw eyes for 16 years. So I don't even have to look at an eye to like know the ingredients to it. But the crease of your eye doesn't look blurry like that. So now I'm going to go back in when you're all done doing that shading. And we're going to put a little bit more detail to refine. We're always kind of blending, refining back with our pencil, blending, crispening up. It's a process. It should be very therapeutic and relaxing to you. We do little revisions. It's just a part of the process for perfection. Oh, okay. All right. So may I start the next step, or do you need me to wait a little longer? I'm more than happy to wait. I feel like some people are still quiet. You're so quiet. Usually when you get really chatty, I'm like, oh, it's time for the next step. I am going to ask that we lose the earbuds. I shouldn't see earbuds when I'm talking and giving explanations. Thank you. All right. Now I'm going to go in and I'm just going to kind of refine that crease line here. Woohoo! So I'm gesturally, sketchily, just kind of going back in so it looks crisp. Pretty happy with that. I need to sharpen my pencil. I'll be right back. You're allowed to sharpen your pencils. There's pencil sharpeners all around the room. We're going to need a sharp pencil for the next step, which is eyelashes. Woo! Are you excited? Yeah. We need to practice this before you do it on your actual ones, because you guys scare me. Yeah. All right. So, one other thing that is pretty much factual is that this is pretty crisp along the edge. So I'm just going back on the edge of that skin that's right on top of the eyeball and making it a little bit more crisper by gesturally just kind of drawing that line across the top. It's a process. And then on the bottom, I'm just kind of crispening that up if there's anything that looks really blurry. I'm just crispening. That's what I call it. I don't know if that's a real word. Crispening. Why not? You feel me? Okay. Now, eyelashes are very individualized based on each person. Now, I've seen some of these guys around here, and they have gorgeous eyelashes, and it makes me so jealous.
And I'm one of them.
And some of us put on a little extra.
Will you?
All of the above. And eyelashes don't all grow the same direction, not even on the falsies, people. Okay? And they're not a hard line. Remember we practiced this all the way up here with the eyebrows and the eyelashes. Let's go back up there. Let's practice this. Press down and flick up. Press down, flick up. Press down, flick up. Go in different directions. Press down, flick up. Press down, flick up. Press down, flick up. Till you start, oh, that's a hideous one. No, thank you. That's why we're practicing before we commit to our actual pretty eyeball. Okay? Press down, flick. Just a little flick of the wrist. Okay. So now that we practiced it, we're going to try that here. Press down, flick up. Press down, flick up. Press down, flick up. Different directions. Miss Brown, this is scary. And then the more near the tear duct, they're smaller. The hairs grow smaller. Press down, flick up. Press down, flick up. Ooh la la. Don't be scared. This is a practice on your sketchbook. It's not a problem. Press down, flick. Press down, flick. And everybody's gonna be different in their photos. Some are easier to see than others. And it has like, maybe yours is more curled. Whew. I hope this is starting to look kind of realistic. But see how we had to do them last? We can't be doing skin tone on top of it. It'll make your lashes blurry. Nobody has blurry lashes. Okay? So get your flick on. Woohoo! Have fun with it. Maybe yours are not as hairy as mine. And then I'm going to go on the bottom and do baby flicks. There's a water line on the bottom so it doesn't go quite to the edge of the eyelash. There's like a little step down, so I drew a little water line. And I'm just flicking and making little baby lashes. Maybe these are not apparent on your photograph, but at least we've practiced it and you have something to reference that you did prior, so you feel more confident when you go in with your own photo. Quite a commitment going on your actual art piece for the open house. So we like to practice these little things. Okay, so now when you're done, I want you to spend the remainder of the period working on your eye, refining it, zooming in on that photograph, and making yours look special, just like this, with the shading. The white of the eye isn't completely white. There's shadows from the eyelid. Do your best. Make sure you got that skin in before you put the eyelashes and eyebrow hairs. We haven't talked about eyebrow hairs much. We're going to do that in another box, but I want you to focus on that eyeball today, okay? We only have about 4 or 5 minutes, so buckle down, people. At least get one eyeball in a good shape for me right now, or I won't let you leave. You have to run late to ag, and I'm going to laugh at you. Just kidding. All right, I'm going to stop the video. Thank you for your attention. I can't wait to, I'm going to check your work right now.